But I'm just wondering if like there's still people clamoring for like, can I see a little bit of the dial? Like I love the level, I love the three-dimensionality, but are we at the end of the skeletonized dial era where it's just gone a bit too far? It's been like, it's not necessary anymore. I just want to know your thoughts on this.
Greetings and welcome to this week's aBlogtoWatch Weekly. For some reason, David looks like he's just fallen into a hole in my video screen, but there he is, he's back up. The camera dipped to head height.
Yes.
It's like one of those wee men peeking over the wall in those cartoons. I don't know if that was a thing in Hungary or America. But anyway, there we go. Welcome everyone to the show. For some reason, Ripley's not here. We see him floating around, but he's not in the room for this chat, so perhaps he'll join us later. But we do have David. Good morning, David. How are you?
Good morning. I'm just wondering if Ripley could listen in. This is a live audience member.
A live audience. How are the mighty Magyars getting on in the European Championships? Are they getting on quite as well as Scotland? Or are we playing off for the wooden spoon?
I've watched literally 20 seconds. I forgot that there was a game on. I turned it on. We were, just Switzerland was beating us 0-2. And the Hungarian commentator said that this was the 60th minute into the game. And he said, it's about high time that we scored a goal. But for that, first we would have to get near the other team's goal. So it's like, and I was like, that's perfect analysis. 60 minutes of game time. I'm like, I'm out. 20 seconds. That's all I ever needed, really. Thank you.
Is it made slightly more embarrassing by being in the watch industry and being beaten by the Swiss? I'm only saying this because we've yet to play the Swiss and get beaten by them. We've been thrashed by the Germans instead, so it's 1-0 for AI and Zona right now, or 5-1 as it happens.
Right. All of the Swiss should be wearing tourbillons or very fragile watches of some sort, maybe miniature beaters or something.
Do you think if you got like a really fast-moving tourbillon that it would create some sort of thing in their arm and kind of pull them over like a gyro?
Bend it like Beckham or something.
Bend it like Beckham. David, a football reference? Good grief, man. What's going on?
Yeah. I only know that because of Carrera Nightly. That's all I care about.
Good stuff. Ariel, is all of Soccer Nation completely escaping your attention right now? Are you aware there's a big football tournament going on in Europe?
Negative, sir.
This is on the news. When we were playing against Switzerland in America, the TV channel that had the rights to broadcast the game, they actually chose to broadcast the fishing championship instead. So the only TV channel in America was like, screw this, we're going fly fishing or something.
Now that's something I want to see. Competitive fly fishing? Those announcers knows what's up.
Yes, so I don't know who we put. Do we play Hungary next? Do we play you next? I think we do. So predictions.
All right. Game on.
No draw.
Are these guys at least wearing watches while on the field? I'm trying to understand all this.
The referees are wearing Hublots.
They have to wear Hublots? They choose to wear Hublots? Are they just digital Hublots?
Yeah, those digital Hublots.
I think so they are.
Yeah.
Okay. There was this UEFA limited edition e-watch, something Big Bang stuff that they are wearing, I believe.
Yeah, I did ask you.
Finally, someone's recognizing the most important role in the field, which is the referee.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did ask people if they wanted to fly us out to Scotland versus Hungary. I thought that would be a nice cultural thing, but they told me they'd run out of tickets. Clearly, Scotland-Hungary is just such a vastly popular game amongst the Hublot executives.
Well, they're playing in a 100-person stadium. Come on.
Fills up quick in somebody's back garden. Anyway, Hungary used to have a good team. Scotland have very rarely had a good team, but there we go. Anyway, Ripley is still a no-show, so we will crack on. And it's a shame, because as part of last week's show this week, I had something for Ripley to take part in, because I have in fact gone to ChatGPT and asked it to produce a haiku for Grand Seiko watches to put in the back of the ball. So it turns out if you put the aBlogtoWatch link for a Grand Seiko into ChatGPT, it will come up with a haiku for you. So the latest watch we have reviewed from Grand Seiko was the Evolution 9 White Birch. And I thought Ripley might like reading this out, because I've no idea. Do you have to read a haiku with a kind of, do you just read it, or does it have to be done poetically? Does it have a certain cadence to it? I don't know. So Grand Seiko's
Japanese poetic reading.
Yeah, Japanese poetic reading. Here we go.
Yes.
Grand Seiko's grace, white birch texture, fine details. Time's art on the wrist. There you go. That's all right. It's not bad.
Not too bad.
It's not too bad. So, I mean, it's free. This idea of haikus on the back of all Grand Seikos, it's available for actually nothing because it's not even the paid version of ChatGPT. But there we go. So that's a wee follow-up from that. But let's follow up from something else. It's a bit of a theme we seem to have been developing here, and this time it is going to be shared via the glories of Victorinox. And this is all about how Swiss is something. Values, visiting where Victorinox makes Swiss Army knives and watches in Switzerland. It struck me, Ariel, in reading this, that Victorinox and their knives in particular do seem to have a slightly higher criteria in what makes them Swiss-made than many of the watches with Swiss-made on them. Not necessarily from Victorinox, but from other brands. How was the trip?
It was great. I love seeing the factory where they made basically, pocket knives, all of them. And it was exactly what you thought. It wasn't one of those things where you go there, like, since we go to watch factories, we're like, is this where all the watches made? I feel like there's some missing stuff. You're like, no, this is where they make all the pocket knives, all the different sizes, all the different tools and things like that. It was really, really cool to see that. And having the background with watches teaches you enough about metals and steels and polishing to appreciate what they do at a great price. Look, your average, pocket knife has a lot less parts than a wristwatch, so it's a lot easier to get away with, Swiss made. They're, they make a big deal out of them. Well, the metal, of course, comes from where metal comes from, not Switzerland. Switzerland hates polluting. So they're like, oh, we're not going to make steel because steel is a polluting thing. So Switzerland they're very sneaky with their environmentalism. They're just like, well, we won't do it here.
It's done literally across the border in Austria. That's where it's done. It's like 50
Austria,
kilometers away from
Sweden,
them.
yeah, but they're just like, it comes in by trains. One of the things that Victorinox made a big point to mention, I wouldn't have known this was different, but they said that for many years now, they've wanted to make sure they have a minimum of 1 year's worth of steel. So that if there's a supply chain disruption, hard to get steel, the price of steel shoots up temporarily, they have at least a whole year's worth of steel in reserves. We went where they had their steel, these huge bands of rolled up steel, different types of steel and things like that. And of course, they use enormous amounts of it. I guess it's I don't think they call it plastic, but the plastic shell, not all of them have the sort of plastic covers on both sides, but that's made by a supplier. So that's one thing they don't make. But they pretty much do it all themselves. For the watches, they make the cases themselves. They don't make the movements, they don't claim to. But they do discuss about how most of the watch comes from Switzerland, and they're very, very proud of that. And they actually had this whole presentation of like, you think those guys know what they mean by Swiss made? No, we know Swiss made. So it's like, more than 90% Swiss made. Very proud company. They're the biggest employer outside of the state, like the government in the canton which they're located in. They've been the biggest employer for a long time. So it's sort of this community loved company because they just employ so many people. So it was a really interesting to see, really a non-watch factory in Switzerland that's so well known, to compare and contrast. Obviously, the watches are made in a different building and facility than the knives. Actually, the watches are made in the old Wegener facility. So Victorinox purchased their arch rival Wegener some time ago, rolled it into Victorinox, and now the old Wegener facility is where actually the Swiss Army watches are produced. So I thought it was quite interesting. We wrote about this article. The sentiment out there is very, very high. A lot of people grew up with a Victorinox Swiss Army knife in their pocket. And there's some amazing stories about the company. For example, 9/11, right? Such a massive problem for the company. They had a lot of crazy things. They even had to loan out a lot of their people to work elsewhere. And there was sort of this interesting double whammy from 9/11. One is that people not traveling has a huge negative impact on not just the sales of watches, but Swiss Army knives. So people not traveling after 9/11. And second, overnight, you went from being able to carry your Swiss Army knife with you, on your carry-on to no, you can't. And a little funny thing like that can have a huge effect on them. And it's funny. There was around the time when I visited there was some article where the CEO was misquoted as saying that he wasn't going to make Swiss Army knives with a knife anymore. And it was really just saying that he was making more versions without knives to make more people able to travel with it. But it was like taken out of context in the media. So they're all embarrassed by it because apparently there's just news out there that like the Swiss Army knife will no longer have a knife, which was silly. I mean, those people love knives. I mean, they make so many things that have knives on them. It's amazing. Like I kept thinking to myself, there's just got to be like a little buckle, here, a little fold out knife on the watch or something like that. Like they've tried to do stuff like that, like multi-purpose watches. Anyways, it was really an exciting company and I liked it a lot. And it's, one that of course will continue to follow the evolution of what they do, but really, really an interesting company for me to visit.
I do like the idea of Victorinox having arch enemies that they take over. The idea of like these companies fighting each other with Swiss Army knives, kind of sitting there trying to get the sharp. Oh no, that's the scissors. No, the toothpick's getting in the road. I need the knife to fight you. How do I yeah. It's not something. I'll be honest. It's not something I've ever owned. Is a Swiss Army knife.
You live on a farm. What do you have in your pocket? Like a shovel?
Are you just pleased to see me? No, I carry a Stanley knife. So
a Stanley? What is that? Like a box cutter?
Yeah, box cutter. So a Stanley knife that's a double blade. So it's a Stanley knife on one side and a sort of 4-inch blade on the other. So the idea of just it's weird. Not a Swiss Army knife connoisseur.
You've never
anyway.
Carried a tiny pair of scissors in your pocket at all times.
That's just what I need.
Amazingly
jacking
useful.
Through me. Yeah, basically useful. You never know when you need a toothpick or a tiny pair of tweezers. Gentlemen, Ripley, good morning to you. You logged on just in time to miss our cultural appropriation of the haiku, so you need to tune back in for that.
Well, no, I specifically had to be absent because it wouldn't be cultural appropriation of the haiku if you had a Japanese man be part of it. It would be authentic haiku, yes.
It would be offensive to you. I would have been
We should have had
cancelled.
Ripley read it.
That was my plan, but Ripley wasn't here.
Yeah, if I read it, it's vetted.
Yeah, it's vetted.
He put all of 3 seconds into a command in ChatGPT. I mean, come on.
So it goes on the back of what Grand Seiko now?
The silver birch.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
Turns out if you just stick the web addresses into ChatGPT, it will do all the work for you. But there we go. Ripley, David, fans of Swiss Army knives? Fans of Victorinox watches?
Yeah, I mean, I use one of their duffels when I travel. I use the aBlogtoWatch, a Victorinox cutting board in the kitchen. I use a lot of their products. I've always thought that, it's never going to be like the most premium end of it, but it always is a very, very good product for what it is. And, most people, unless they're an enthusiast, never really need to go beyond that to get a great product. And I've always had, kind of a love for the brand. And unlike Rick, I own multiple Swiss Army knives.
Well, you see, that's what I kind of don't understand. Like, why would you own more than one? Because it's the whole point of a Swiss Army knife, not that it has all of these things on it.
Do you know the variety they make? Do you have any idea, Rick, the number of different models? It's so confusing. They make ones that have such slight differences. You're like, who said, no, just make it this way for me? Go to their website and try to understand why you'd want Model A over Model B over Model C. Don't get me wrong. It's sometimes very clear what the differences are, but a lot of them have such niche differences. And then when you speak to them, they're like, yeah, this for one particular job that needed this one particular tool. So we made this little thing to do this. But like for the most part, that's why you have to have a lot, because you imagine yourself like, no, I'll need the one that's specially designed for being in a boat, but not fishing.
Right, so hold on a second. So not only is the Swiss Army knife does multiple things and you need multiple of them, sure that kind of defeats the purpose if you've got a duffel bag, as Ripley was saying. It has to be filled with different versions of the Swiss Army knife in order for you to have the right one. It's no longer a pocket knife if you're having to carry 14 of them just so that you've got the perfect tool for the perfect job. I
mean,
clearly don't get
this
this.
argument kind of sounds like, why do you need more than one dive watch?
Well, I refer everyone to the fact that I only have one dive watch.
What?
Maybe this is the problem.
Okay, you know what? We're going to give you a Swiss Army knife gifting ceremony at some point. We'll pretend like you're a wee lad and you're getting your first one with like a dull rounded blade. You know,
Ariel, after visiting the factory, do they have farm-oriented models? They have some for everything.
They do. They have multiple ones that have farm in the name, I think.
Oh,
right,
Rick,
okay, so
come on, here you go.
Okay, I need to go for a deep dive into the Victorinox Swiss Army
Rick,
knife.
I think I found your inaugural Swiss Army pocket knife. It's a classic with a 1 gram gold ingot inserted into it. It literally has actual gold in it, and it's $295 altogether.
That's one of the weirder ones, I'll have to admit. It's exactly as David described, and no, I don't understand why they made it.
It has all the functionality of a $29 one, but for $295 with a bit of gold. Maybe it's like you can get home from like Somalia with that gold or something like that. Maybe that's the gold.
Just to come to realize. So I'm on the website now. So for those watching on YouTube, do remember this show is available on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify, you can watch the video. What am I looking for?
Victorinox.com and gold.
I'm on Victorinox now, so just gold. What gold?
No, you type in like ingot or something like that. I think it has ingot in it.
There we go.
Yeah, the ingots.
The ingots. Classic with gold. Oh, right, it's actually got right. Okay, I thought you just meant it was gold. It's actually genuinely got 1 gram gold ink in it. That's awesome. I am now a convert. There we go. Because what I'm
happy I
could
find the one that
yeah. So yes, it's only got 6 functions, so it's not going to be too confusing for somebody's small brain.
Find one of them that has the term champ in it.
Yes, those are the
and they also have
ones.
some. They have novelty ones. Like I think there's the XL champ, and then there's the XXL champ, which is so large they have multiple of the same tool in it, and it's so large you can't actually hold it in your hand.
Yeah, £396 for the Swiss Champ X.
Yes, but look how wide it is.
This is like when the watch world goes pro and mega and whatever else. The XXL Champ, brilliant. Yeah, that's the size of a small book.
Not a small book.
Yeah, okay, a large book.
It's wider than it is long. It's just like this oblong slab of tools.
Surely there is no practical way in which you could actually use any of those tools.
It's really cool, but it's the one where I think is actually overkill. Like having 2 next to each other that you could hold actually makes more sense than one that has all this stuff.
Okay, so pressurized ballpoint pen. I'm not going to read all these. Okay, here we go. It contains a pharmaceutical spatula. Okay, what are we thinking that's used for?
You don't want to know.
Is it metal and you can heat it with a...
Is that code for a heroin spoon?
Yes, it would seem to be. It would seem to be multi-purpose hook magnifying glass. What is a hook disgorger when it's at home?
To take a hook out of a fish.
Yeah.
And a fish scaler. So not only can you take your hook out of your fish, you can then descale it. Okay, that's excessive. Right, this is not a blog to Swiss Army Knife Weekly. How do I close this screen?
I blocked the champ.
We go on adventures just to find a use for these very obscure tools.
Yes, that would be actually a lot of fun. Just go out and like take one of these and not return until we've used every single one of them.
We should have a challenge. We should take these big knives and then choose like 4 or 5 of them. Maybe like we challenge you to find one task where you have to use all 4 or 5 of these tools.
Do we begin with the pharmaceutical spoon or do we leave that for last?
Up to you. The order in which you use them is entirely up to the artist.
I think you probably start and finish with the same thing probably pretty soon after you start. But there we go. Yeah, that's disturbing on a number of levels. What would be the equivalent watch to go with a knife that has a pharmaceutical spoon on it?
Oh, it's that Richard Mille with the little dry capsule for the water purification tablets, or whatever tablets of your choice.
I think it's a bit unfair that all of these roads lead to Richard Mille.
At least it's not Rolex.
I mean, just once in a while, let's not have the, hey, who's the company to do the insane blah blah blah? Oh yeah, Richard Mille.
I don't know. We've got some reasonably insane stuff coming shortly from Roger Dubuis. Maybe they have a function that will go with this. Anyway, let's actually go there. Let's go to Roger Dubuis and let's go to Tag Heuer and talk about two watches, both in association with car brands. So Roger Dubuis Excalibur, Spider, Flyback, Chronograph, Lamborghini, Verde, Mantis watch by David. And the Tag Heuer, let me just find it, the Tag Heuer Carrera Chronograph X Porsche 963 watch, again by Mr. Breitling. My question I'm a bit confused by the tag, so let's start from that. Tag Heuer and Porsche, but you have Porsche design. Why would Porsche let another brand use Porsche when they've got their own?
They gotta set Porsche
watches.
design straight. They can't just make it easy for that company. They really want to be the Porsche watch. They have to earn it. Tag's put a lot more effort into it. Let's be honest.
Into this, David. My first reaction to this watch, apart from the fact that it's quite nice, is it seems reasonably competitively priced as well. But maybe that's just the extremis of how expensive chronograph watches are getting these days. As I scroll down to the bottom of the article to remind myself of just how much it cost, I think it was 9,200 USD. Did this strike you as being a 9,200 USD watch?
Well, I closed the article by saying that this is a strong package at what has sadly become a competitive price in today's world of big brand produced integrated chronographs. And that's true. I mean, we see a lot of stuff well over $10,000 these days. So for this to have, a truly bespoke case, it's not your regular Carrera case with a forged carbon bezel, really cool looking dial. It's all spiced up in all kinds of ways, the novel lume displays and all the rest of it. All these little things add up into what is a truly bespoke looking package. And for that, 9,200, yes, it's truckloads of money, but at the same time, it is competitive in today's market. So do with that what you will.
Well, look, I actually think this is a pretty cool watch, the case especially, and I'm not at all weirded out that Tag Heuer does the Porsche stuff. I think it makes sense. One question I have is, what is the obsession with these skeletonized dials? For one thing, it seems like Tag Heuer's still not gotten over its Hublot era when Jean-Claude Biver was the CEO. It wasn't really him, but a lot of the designers there was like, let's make it more Hublot. He's like, okay. And I still feel that there's a lot of that here. And I'm just wondering, like, do you guys think enthusiasts just like, oh, you skeletonized the dial? Well, now I'm into it. I know we're going to have a discussion with Roger Dubuis, I get it. But I'm just wondering if, like, there's still people clamoring for, like, can I see a little bit of the dial? Like, I love the level. I love the three-dimensionality. But are we at the end of the skeletonized dial era where it's just gone a bit too far? It's been, like, it's not necessary anymore? I just want to know your thoughts on this.
I don't think it's the end. I think it's just become a thing on its own, and people expect to have this option. I looked it up precisely for this article when I was writing this, when the Heuer 01 came out, and it was 2015, if I recall correctly. And that's almost 10 years ago that Tag came out with this really like skeletonized or open work looking dial, but the movement beneath it does not support this design. So it's not like as though you could see the different wheels and cams and whatever else of a chronograph movement. It looks cool, but the actual complexity does not come from the revelation or the reveal of a movement. So it's really weird. It's really odd. But I think it looks expensive. It looks complicated. And that's, what I presume a lot of people expect at this price point. And the fact that it has stuck around and being a big thing for Tag Heuer for 9 years. I mean, we've seen Tag be in a lot of other different designs that have not worked out for them. many, many times over the last 9 years. And the fact that this has stuck around is telling me, at least, that I think people like this and expect this to be an option from Tag.
It just strikes me, Ariel, your question, that Tag, Zenith, Hublot, they all seem to be slowly merging into the one company. Like, you used to be able to distinguish between them quite easily, but they all seem to be doing a little bit of everything. And actually, they're getting very, very close to the fact you could put Hublot on this or Zenith on it and go, yeah, it could be a Zenith watch. They just seem to be, Bulgaria apart, they just seem to be becoming the one idea. There's nothing particularly novel about them. I mean, this is a very nice watch. I think it has got some quirky stuff. I think it's got slightly too much Porsche for my liking. Not that I don't like Porsche, but it's just slightly OTT. It's slightly reminiscent of the Friends episode where Joey's got a Porsche cover over a bunch of boxes. There's no actually Porsche involvement here. It's becoming a bit like that. And I don't really understand the whole red thing on the chapter. It's not really the chapter.
Have we broken down the cost per Porsche branding for this piece yet? Because it says it on there quite a lot. The one on the side's pretty big, but if we're paying for the Porsche branding, this could be a big value proposition if it says it more than 6 or 7 times.
It says Carrera, Porsche. There's 3. Is there one on the crown? There's one on the side. So that's 4. The clasp looks pretty cheesy. Like, there's quite a lot of work being put into making the rest of the watch look a bit funky. And the clasp is like, oh, we have to put a clasp on this. We've forgotten the parts drawer. I suppose cost per Porsche is probably about $1,500, $2,000 per mention of the brand as an advertisement. That's probably what you're looking at. I don't know how that compares to the Roger Dubuis. David, give us the lowdown on this ridiculously named and not very. I don't really understand the Lamborghini link. Doesn't scream Lamborghini at me. I mean, it just screams at me, but not necessarily Lamborghini. Give us the lowdown on this.
It's the watch equivalent, and I say this in the article also, that if you are a watch brand that is that is tasked with creating a watch that goes with a Lamborghini, you can't just put a Lamborghini logo on a bicompact chrono or whatever. You have to create something that sort of lives up to that. And if you look at this car, it's the SC63. It's a Le Mans racer. It's way over the top in all kinds of ways. And frankly, I like the fact that Roger Dubuis takes this challenge on. And to be honest, they do have everything it takes to create a watch that is as outlandish and as loud, if not technically, then metaphorically, as a Lamborghini. And this watch is right up there. I mean, it's properly insane in a way. Not very legible. These open work hands are really ridiculous on some of these Roger Dubuis watches, especially because they appear as though they were camouflaged against the dial that has very similar elements that look exactly like the hand as well. But, you look at this as a technical exercise, and you look at this as a piece of entertainment on your wrist, as something that goes with a green and red Lamborghini hypercar. I mean, what more do you want from a watch if you expect it to live up to that sort of reference?
Well, it doesn't actually say Lamborghini on it at all from what I can see. Unless it's on the strap somewhere. It's not on the case, from what I can see from the picture. So there's actually 0 references to the brand on this watch, unless there's some logo or something that I'm missing. It doesn't appear to actually mention other than the name. I don't know whether that's... I don't know who made that decision, whether Lamborghini were like, yeah, you can call it after us, but we don't want to be mentioned in this watch. Or... Roger Dubuis were like, yeah, we can call it Lamborghini, but we really don't want to be associated with the actual name on the watch. It's a bit weird to call it something and not have it mentioned at all.
And it's a very reasonable $107,500. And frankly, when I was looking at this, as ridiculous as it sounds, I was expecting it to cost even more than that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This does almost feel like a bargain. $100,000, 45 mil, Roger Dubuis. Yeah. Ripley?
Yeah, I thought we were going to get to the end of it and realize that you could have actually just bought a Lamborghini for the exact same price, if not less. So, but no, $100,000. This seems downright reasonable compared to certain new releases from this past year.
You could even buy a Porsche for that.
Maybe a Boxster, but then you would look so ridiculous with this watch on and getting out of a Boxster.
In a little Cayman, driving your.
I identify as a Lamborghini. That's fine. All right.
Good stuff. What is the? All right, I was going to say, what is it that it says on the barrels, but it actually just says barrels on the. Is that what it says? It just says power reserve. All right, it says.
It also says 72 hours of power reserve. It's just typical like mid-2000s kind of showing off, from watch design. I think
people
that's
tiny text. The designers like, can we print tinier text?
Tinier text. And the tiny text award this week goes to Roger Dubuis.
God.
Yeah. So it says 70 hours power reserve, but it doesn't actually have a power reserve indicator on it, or does it? And I just can't see it amongst the mishmash of the dial.
Does it have any indicator on it?
I mean, we have to send in a search party to go find the chronograph counter. I have no idea what happened to the right-hand side. I like
if you look at this, you could wear this watch for an entire year and then realize, wait a minute, the date is on the dial?
Yes.
And it does have the date.
Yeah, I'm not really now that I look more and more at this, it's getting weirder and weirder.
Wait, it has a date?
Oh, yeah.
It's literally called a cryptic date.
Where is the date?
It's
part of the fun to find out,
Yes. Excuse me, sir, can you tell me what date it is? No, I can't. Not for $100,000.
Yeah, so there we go. So who did it better between Roger Dubuis and Tag Heuer in your thinking of associating themselves with a car brand this week? David, you reviewed them both. Who did it better?
I would take the Roger Dubuis. Just for the heck of it. Just to annoy all the Tag Heuer fan listeners right now. They're like, what are you doing?
I mean, no, I totally agree with David. I'll take the Roger Dubuis because I still haven't figured out where the date is. This is now a Where's Waldo game for me. Like, this is endless entertainment.
Wait, watching the video, we get Ripley's looking for it. Let's wait till he finds it.
It's not that thing at the bottom, right? Is that it? The 8? Oh,
oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
For nearly 85 years, Marathon Watch has been a family-owned company specializing in an extensive array of precision instruments designed to measure time, temperature, and distance. Today, all Marathon watches are built with industry-leading standards at the company's own factory located in La Chaux-de-Fonds, Switzerland. Many people know Marathon as a long-standing supplier of timepieces to the Allied Armed Forces. Today, Marathon is the Allied Forces' only remaining official supplier of watches. Marathon is also proud to supply high-quality tools to law enforcement and rescue professionals whose jobs absolutely require reliability and value. Since 1941, Marathon has been producing timepieces to exacting standards for the military, and until recently, that was the only way to get a Marathon military spec timepiece. Today, Marathon welcomes watch lovers everywhere to get to know one of the best kept secrets in performance horology. Marathon watches were worn by active duty professionals in conflicts such as World War II, Operation Desert Storm, and Operation Enduring Freedom. Wearers appreciate the ultra-durable, ultra-functional, and ultra-precise nature of Marathon's mostly tritium gas tube illumination-equipped products. Most recently, Marathon proudly announced the launch of the new Jeep by Marathon collection, which includes 4 featured timepieces that honor the brand's rich history and honorable service supplying the Allied forces back to 1941. Discover the full collection of exciting enthusiast-grade Jeep watches, as well as the full collection of Marathon products at marathonwatch.com.
Right, well, let's move on from that moment to, we'll give it a brief review just because it was one of the most commented on articles this week in Ripley. This is one of yours. I'm tempted to say hit miss maybe, but the Omega Swatch Moonswatch Mission on Earth Lava Polar Light and Desert watches or Desert watches. Do they need to stop? Is it time for intervention?
Well, I guess as long as they keep making money, they don't see any reason to stop. I personally feel like they've done a lot in a very short amount of time. I feel like they could either give this concept to a different Swatch brand, go ruin the Type 20 or something like that from Verde, or at least do like a different like type of Omega, like a Seamaster, even like a Speedmaster 57. But it also seems that the hype is just generally dying down. What even for the lines for the Moon Phase 1 versus this, I spoke to someone who works at the Swatch store out here in Topanga. They said there was like maybe a couple dozen people in line. They sold out of the red one pretty quickly, the green one in a few hours, and then they actually closed the day with a couple of the desert ones still hanging around. So it sounds like the hype is kind of dying down. But at this point, like, it's I think these are some of the better looking executions. But I mean, we've got one for every planet of the solar system, every possible moon, Swiss flag day, like. We've actually exhausted the number of things we can do with it.
Aren't those just gelato flavors at this point?
The Tutti Frutti Moonswatch.
I mean, when this first started, I don't know if we were having a chat here, but at some point we were talking about this, and I had said, I'm pretty sure that Swatch is going to ruin a good thing by releasing too many of these too quickly, right? Because the only way to replicate the magic, so to say, is to make a release rare. And when they just keep churning them out, I get they want money. That much is clear. But like you didn't need to have any particular intelligence to realize that they were going to blow through these in a way that made the market be like, I haven't even got over the one I bought a couple weeks ago. Why are you telling me about more? And I think that that's one of the problems with the current approach of the Swatch Group is that they can make great products, but they seem to be very detached from the consumer experience. There's a lot they don't quite get. Sometimes they'll get it right. The PRX, be like, yeah, people want something like that. They can make a lot of great watches, but the way they talk about them, the way they release them, if it's an under Omega but above Swatch, you don't even know that's being released. It's just like, oh, did you know that, Hamilton makes this cool watch? Oh, really? I had no idea. Above that, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance for expensive watches you're not really sure you need. And then Swatch is just, well, we talked about it. We're still trying to figure out what AI software is running it.
Yes, that was the clip of the week. Last week was David's commentary on the Swatch AI finally breaking down.
People resonated with that. They're like, we think that you're correct. We actually believe this is happening. And then they thought, could it be a better AI? They like the AI direction. It just is a little bit more of a hip AI. Not the one that's trained on the internet data, that's 2016 and before.
It's just they're not paying for it yet. Like, they're still using the 3.5
they're using the free
version.
account.
As soon as they decide to spend $20 a month, it'll really take off. But we're
going to start seeing like an AI company watermark on the back of the watch case, right?
There's a lot of paperwork to get through to spend $20 a month in the Swiss watch world. To invest in marketing like that, it's the number of hoops that the marketing department needs to jump through just to spend an extra 20 quid. You would be surprised. Well, actually, we wouldn't be surprised at all being involved in that
Twice
world.
A year is the maximum amount of time they could come out with these. They should be as different as possible. You should be able to go the better part of a year and enjoy your Swatch times Omega or Swatch times Blancpain before they basically try to throw another one in your face. And I think that's the problem. Respect the fact that the consumer wants to feel positive, because all you end up doing when you come out with a new one so quickly is you make them feel insecure. And if they just won't buy more, it's just that simple.
I think twice a year might even be aggressive. Like, I think a once a year sort of novelty that Swatch does where they like, every year we do something with one of our sibling brands to create this fun thing for the people. Like, that would be some kind of like tradition I could sort of get behind. People would look forward to it. That could almost be something you collect. But I think a great example of what Ariel's talking about is how they did the rollout of the Mission to Moon Phase ones. If they rolled out the white and black one at the exact same time and said, choose which one you like, that's basically the same thing in these two polar opposite colors, someone could look at them, say, I like this one, and buy that one. Instead, you had a bunch of people buy one, and then a very short amount of time later, get that basically told there's this other one that they might have actually liked better that's nearly identical. And, that makes them second guess it. But I think that's a great example of, if you wanted to do the moon phase in these two variations, put them all together, make it just one thing rather than this kind of drawn out launch where simultaneously they all feel less special because of it.
I'm just realizing, because I'm completely bored with this watch already, that Ripley's wearing both a Notice t-shirt and an HYT hat.
Oh, I mean, we can go from here.
So,
it's a bit
so
warm.
again, 2 weeks
Roger Dubuis, here we go. We can go ahead and throw this on. D1 Milano on the scarf real quick if we want to just...
okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Just casually.
Yeah, there we go. He's now got 5 items. I think this game is possibly over before it even started in terms of a contest. Ripley's already 7-0 up over the 2 weeks, so got a bit of catching up. It's like Scotland versus Germany. But
Can I just say I quite
go.
like that vest. That's fully approved.
I think we need to reach out to Roger. We did say your watch was the better than the tag this week, so send us stuff. That's quite cool. I do quite like that.
You get the Lamborghini, you get the Pirelli, you get all of the branding. The branding is off the watch because it's on the puffer vest. This is how it operates.
I do like a good gilet. Myself and Will, we're both gilet fans, country bumpkins that we are. Good stuff. Any final thoughts on the whole Omega Swatch, where it goes next? Is this just going to be us going forward? They're not changing tack.
I'm going to keep saying this. I want Swatch to develop an impressive quartz movement. High-end quartz is becoming exciting again. You have brands within the Swatch group, from Certina to Longines, that have high-end quartz. It hasn't quite been mainstreamized. Come out with a silent, not ticking, high accuracy, something cool quartz movement to revitalize Swatch, capitalize on the fact that people think high-end quartz is cool again. That's literally all I want Swatch to do at this point, is please come out with a new movement.
Well, as we make that appeal, let's get ready to play Hit Miss Maybe. So let's let a few folk into the room. Let's see who's there.
The good news, Ariel, is if they start working on your plea now, it's only 10 years and you will get your high-end quartz movement from Meta.
It's got to start sometime, right?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ariel Adams from aBlogtoWatch. I'd like to tell you about Bezel, the modern app for buying and selling authenticated high-end watches. Bezel isn't like other platforms. Bezel was designed exclusively for today's timepiece collectors and enthusiasts, offering choice, convenience, safety, and service. In addition to personally authenticating each timepiece sold on the marketplace, Bezel also offers a personal concierge service to walk you through any part of the watch buying or selecting process. Want something not currently listed on Bezel? Their concierge service is happy to seek one out for you. Buying and selling a watch can be scary as well as challenging, especially with all the options out there today. Bezel uses a modern, intuitive interface to deliver a class-leading technology experience that makes it simple and fun to search through available watches or list one you currently want to sell. Try Bezel today and discover what others like you are already excited about. Get the Bezel app or use the getbezel.com website. That's GetBezel.com. Thanks.
All right, well, we've been joined by some other guests for playing Hit Miss Maybe. Let's do what we usually do, go round the room, see where everybody is, who they are, and what they are wearing on the wrist. We'll start with who's on my screen, top left, which is David. Where are you? What do you have in the room? Because it's almost certainly not on your wrist.
Yeah, it's not here, actually. What I have is a new phone. That's the best I can do at the moment.
New phone. David has a new phone. Excellent. Yes. Thank you for contributing so valuably to the show. Ariel, where are you? What are you wearing?
In Los Angeles now, won't be here next week, and I'm wearing Roger Dubuis. This is the Excalibur Mono Balancier, which is their fancy way of saying not a tourbillon. This is a nearly $80,000 titanium watch without a tourbillon.
Cool.
Just nice finishing, though, I have to say.
Just nice what you need. Ripley, you're in front of the Great Wall. I imagine the sweat is beginning to run off your forehead. You're going to get shinier as the show goes on. If you happen to be watching this on video, you will see why. How many watch brands are you currently repping, and what are you wearing on your wrist?
I'm 3, 4, We're absolutely covered in brand swag, but I'm wearing the IWC Pilot's Chronograph.
Oh, very nice, very nice, very nice. Guy, where are you? What are you wearing?
I am on the south coast of the UK, and I have on the D-Trash Like Mania, which had a 12-hour drop yesterday with parcels going out this morning.
Cool, excellent. Kevin, long time no see, but where are you and what are you wearing?
Oh, apologies, Rick. I haven't been on for a while. I'm in.
You don't need to apologise. You don't have to come on. It's not like the Queen's shilling.
I'm in Grey Kent at the moment on the south coast, and I'm currently wearing a G-Shock Tough Solar. This is the Blue Note edition, limited edition. It came out a couple of years ago.
Very good, very good. Alon, how are you? Where are you? What are you wearing?
Good to see you all. I'm in Amsterdam, rocking the second collab with Ace Jewelers and Nevada Granchi that we dropped last week.
Good stuff, good stuff. I'm in Scotland. I am wearing a Panerai. And for those that were concerned as to what Panerai is, it is the 233. It's the 8-day GMT. I do also have, guys, one of one watch here, which is now under lock and key because it's one of a kind now.
Millions one day.
It's worth millions one day. But also, just because he's wearing the scarf, I've also got this D1 Milano watch here just to show that there are brands other than Panerai out there. It's quite a nice watch, this, actually. How's the scarf?
It's quite warm. It's very warm. It's very warm for June in Los Angeles.
In a puffer jacket, a scarf, a hat, and all the rest of it. Anyway, right, let's get on with some hit, miss, maybe action.
Rick, I really hope we're going to discuss the submersible Elux Lab ID with you. I'm really curious how you're going to vote on that.
The Panerai, you think that I will shill for Panerai, do you?
Absolutely.
Well, we'll see. So anyway, first up, Doxa. There we go. The Doxa Sub 300 Beta Dive Watch. Ripley, you've reviewed this as a hands-on now. Give us a starter for 10.
So Doxa, obviously the 300 is their most famous watch. They have the 300T, which is the modern version. And now we have the 300 Beta, which is sort of like the dressing version because they realized not that many people actually dive with their watches. So they wanted to make like a more refined urban street world version of it. And it's kind of an interesting watch. It's fairly thin relative to other models, but you have a helium escape valve. You get this black ceramic bezel and winding crown and kind of a wave dial. And you get, kind of the traditional colors, but they have a sunburst pattern. On the silver one, which would be the Sea Rambler, it almost looks a little bit dingy or dirty because it's a sunburst dial with the wave pattern. But it's sort of interesting. This is kind of like Doxa's least purpose-built diver, if you will, despite the fact that it still has 300 meters of water resistance and a helium escape valve, which is, again, a bit unusual. But, it's another option in the lineup. And if you didn't think the brand's lineup was confusing enough, here is another very similar model to make the 300 collection even more confusing.
Yes. Well, let's see what everybody thinks of it. So on the count of 3, is it hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, hits, maybes, hits, no misses. Let's start, David, with your maybe. Why is it just a maybe?
It's a maybe because I think if you're looking for this specific spec, then good for you. That's great. You can pick it up. And it's almost a miss because as Ripley is saying, it's getting confusing. I think 1 or 2 references of this watch should exist and no more. So it's a few too many, and it just doesn't really wear that nicely on the wrist, I find. It's just like really wide. The case and the strap integration and all the rest of it. It's just, on my narrow wrist, it's just not that comfortable.
Fair enough. Ariel, how did you vote and why did you vote that way?
I voted maybe just because this particular SKU probably wouldn't be the one I would choose. There's no shortage of color combinations or small variations on the core style. So I like the core Doxa look. I like that sort of tonneau style case and the kind of double style ringed bezel, but this just wouldn't be the specific version for me. So I think this is a great watch, but knowing that there's other options out there that I happen to like a little bit more, that's why it's a maybe.
Yeah, I give this a hit. I just really like it. I'd be curious to know how comfy it is in comparison to the normal ones, but I do like a Doxa, it has to be said.
It wears
although,
almost identical to the Army. I wouldn't be surprised if it used the same middle case from the Army.
Right, okay.
Valve and all.
I do think, though, they do suffer from the, how many SKUs can you have of a watch that basically looks the same thing? And I know I'm wearing a Panerai before anybody says it, but that you just look at it and go, I don't know which one. I like that, but I like that one as well. And they're all fairly competitive. So you kind of feel like you could own more than one. But anyway, so Ripley, how did you vote?
I said a maybe, but just like David, a maybe, almost a miss. Ultimately, it's not a bad watch. And if you like what this is, it's, it does that well. But I it's maybe leaning towards miss because it kind of has a bit of an identity crisis. If you wanted to make it the sleek, refined, like urban non-diver version of their 300, get rid of that helium escape valve. Slim it down a little bit more. Lean into that concept a little bit more. As it currently stands, it's like it's not as capable as a sub 300T. You only have 300 meters, but you have the helium escape valve. But then you have these black on black markings on the bezel that aren't really all that legible. So it just doesn't really have a clear purpose. And I would have liked to see it just almost go less utilitarian and practical and just fully embrace the dry land diver concept, if you will.
Guy, how'd you vote?
I give it a hit. I kind of agree with everyone else. I mean, I like Doxa. I gave it a hit because I quite like the ceramic bezel, which is kind of the bit that sets it apart from the other models. And I think
liking the strap, how unusual.
No, the bezel, the ceramic bezel. And I do like, I like the little logo on the side of the strap as opposed to the big logo on the top.
I was resisting, again, as a Panerai wearer, resisting temptation to mention the name of the brand on the strap. But yeah, I think that's really quite cool.
I think it's really cool, that little bit on the side. And I like the ceramic bezel. And I kind of agree that it doesn't need the helium escape valve and everything else, but it's got it. Doesn't
no watches do.
It's a bit harmless.
Let's face it. Yeah. That somebody, the doorbell has rung for you, so go and answer the doorbell. Kevin, how'd you vote?
Maybe. I agree with our American cousins. It's a watch which shouldn't really exist within the SKUs, but it does. Ripley pointed it out quite clearly that it's going down the urban route, but why does it have a helium escape valve? There's a few things in there which shouldn't be, and I'm just confused, basically, with that watch. I'm totally confused. So it's definitely a maybe, but I'm sure they'll sell loads of them because it's at a very good price point. Even though it is competitive in that sector, it's a good watch, but it's just not for me, and it's confusing.
Cool. Well, Alan has answered his doorbell. Now he's going to answer the question. How did you vote, Alan?
I voted a hit because I've been eyeing and shopping at Doxa for quite some time. Obviously, you gravitate to the Army as a watch nerd because of the heritage. But this really caught my eye. And as a Dutchman, the orange obviously appeals to me. And I would either opt for satinating the beads of rice bracelet completely. So maybe I would simply go to my polishing machine and do it myself. Or I saw the black dialed version has an orange rubber strap. So I would go for that instead of the white one in the great pictures that I assume Ripley you took or somebody else from aBlogtoWatch. Great shots. So I actually like the wave pattern. So it's a hit for me.
Cool. Well, next up, and bizarrely not going to be the largest watch we review this week, we have the Breitling Superocean Automatic 46 Super Diver watches. Ripley, again, you did some notes on this new release. This kind of camo dial.
So this is now the most pro-spec diver in Breitling's lineup. when they relaunched the Superocean collection, the 46 millimeter models, they had the same depth rating as the rest of the smaller sizes, but they had this bezel locking system. So it's a bidirectional bezel with a lever on the side that lets you lock it. Ariel wrote up those, but because they had the different bezel, I always thought it was strange that they didn't have any other capabilities that, you know, made them more pro oriented or whatever. So now you have the Super Diver. It's all titanium. You get much more water resistance. You can get a titanium bracelet on it, and of course camo dials to match. So this is now Breitling's biggest, baddest diver.
Yeah, at 46 mil. So let's give it a quick judgment. So hit, miss, maybe. Maybes, misses, hits. No, for a surprising number of hits, actually. I'm a maybe. I think I'm just a maybe. Let's try one of these on, see 46 mil. Is it a wearable 46 mil or not? David, you thought it was a hit? Is that right?
Yeah, these, you know, it's easy to have the first impression of a fun toy watch or something, but, you know, Breitlings are almost always beautifully made, very high quality, so this will be just joy to wear if you can wear and rock a 46 millimeter dive watch.
We know one person in this room that does think he can rock a 46 mil dive watch, but first up, we're going to hear from Ariel.
If it was just judging by the pictures, I would have given a maybe or a miss. But if you wear this watch, it looks a lot better on your wrist. I haven't seen the specific camo dial, but I've seen other versions with the sort of strange blocky hands and hour markers. It for whatever reason doesn't look very good in the marketing shots, but on the wrist, it makes the case for itself, and it looks a lot better. The titanium is going to make it a lot wearable. There's a room in a lot of people's lives for sort of a big, burly dive watch. What really sells me on it is that, oddly, compared to some of the competition, it's very affordable. It's still nearly $7,000. But if you look at the other sort of really deep diving watches, they're like a lot more. You look at the Omega, the Rolex, and, you know, Panerai and things like that. So oddly, it's a cool watch to wear. It takes itself about as seriously as it needs to, right? Like the camo side of it is just like kind of wink, wink. Yeah, guys, this is a lifestyle watch. And so I kind of like that Breitling isn't trying to pretend like there's some professional out there using this for diving purposes. It's a machismo watch, and they're owning it well. And again, it looks cool in the flesh. And again, in the competitive marketplace, it's not that much when thinking about what else is out there with the same specs.
Yeah, there seemed to be a few comments, I showed them on the screen there, of folk complaining about the price, but when I saw the price, I didn't have a typically Scottish reaction to anything that's over $1,000.
A visceral gut-wrenching and falling on the floor.
There was no gut-wrenching involved. Oh! It seemed like, all right, that's the price of it, fair enough. But a lot of folks seem to have responded particularly badly to it, which I don't really understand. Ripley, Ariel, do you understand?
Maybe so it's not just a titanium version of this 46 mil. They put actually a different movement in it. So the standard 46 mil and the rest of the Superocean collection gets Breitling's version of the 2824. So like the SW200. This is actually the SW300 base that serves as the basis of this movement. So it's thinner. You get a little bit better specs. But part of why it's thinner is because it uses an anti-magnetic shield. So although it is thicker on the standard 46, the total difference is like 1.3 millimeters, and that includes the fact that it has the shield. So they did a lot right to make it a better spec version of the 46 mil. So if you look at the 46 mil, you look at this one, yes, it's quite a bit more, relatively speaking. I don't think this is poorly priced relative to other offerings in the industry, but what you actually get for that extra money is quite a bit better than what, it's not just this version now in titanium.
Guy, how did you vote?
I voted a miss. Couple of reasons. One, I've always wanted to like the Superocean, and I don't really like it because I feel like the dial has been shrunk down. It's like a dial that's shrunk down and put into a bigger watch. And like the minute tracker is too big, and it's got like this little stubby minute hand that kind of. I wish that it was bigger and the minute tracker was smaller. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
No one else see that. So that's my Superocean. My issue with the Superocean as a watch. I just don't like it because of that. And I just don't think the world needs a camo dial. I don't really get the idea of a camo dial. and it's just a bit of a weird, like, I don't know, people wearing Maharishi pants in the 80s. Like, yeah.
Okay.
So you're like, well,
That sounds like a confession, guy. That sounds like a confession.
No, why? I don't think I've ever seen a watch with a camo dial before.
I'll give
Maybe
you the
that's
nice
me.
paradoxical response. When you want a little pop... Oh, good.
You are wearing camo, aren't you, while you say this?
No, I'm wearing palm tree print.
Almost.
I'm only trying to blend in with the tropics. No, I was saying the contradiction is when you want to have a little pop of blending in, right? Because the whole point of camo is to blend in, but you actually wear it in order to stand out. So that's sort of the fun dual nature of this in the fashion sense.
But I've never seen another camo watch. Is this a thing that I'm just not aware of?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
You've been living under a bush or something.
I need to go and do some research into camo watches.
They put camo in every part of a watch, guy, okay? No part has been safe from camo. It's like skulls.
It's because you can't see them. They're so well camouflaged, you can't see them. That's why.
Yeah, I guess they work really well, just going right by you.
Give it a couple of weeks, we'll have a camo watch out. I'll work
yeah, I bet you will. You realise how big a market it is. Camo from D-Trash. The question is, who's handled one of these watches? Anybody?
Not this newest version, but very similar ones of the larger Superocean.
Right. So
yes.
Is the lock at the side? Does it flick back? Like, is it the sort of thing you're going to fidget with? Or is it you pull it and then you push it back? Or is it actually the...
No, it slides into two positions.
Right, okay.
But it's great for fidgeting.
It's not a ratchet. That would be cool if it kind of ratcheted like with...
Yeah, I think we do need a new rating system with how good a fidgeter is the watch. But then Pan and I would just win everything. Anyway, never mind. Kevin, how'd you vote?
I voted a hit. Unfortunately, Guy, I love camo. And it is a thing. 100%, and it demonstrates that you're not really a diver. Come on, who dives that goes down to 600 meters? Nobody. But it's an urban watch, and that's what you want nowadays. Nobody's concerned about diving or swimming or anything like that. It's about looking cool, thinking you're the man. You have a big watch on your wrist to show everybody that you're hip and trendy, and camo just takes it to another level. Sorry,
I believe you now.
Sold.
We need a girl on this podcast so bad. I would love to.
Yeah, it's very true.
Absolutely. And titanium. I mean, I'm a sucker for titanium as well. It's a stunning piece. I have to say, I really do like it. I really do.
Yeah. Good. Alan, do you sell many camouflage watches, or do you have difficulty finding them in the shop?
Well, actually, are you allowed to curse on the show?
Not really.
No,
let you away with
what
one.
the F is this? So I voted hit, and I really, really wanted to vote miss. But in a strange way, I'm like, what the F? Camo? Really? Is it back? And yes,
it never left, Alan. It never left.
I made Ace NATO straps camo in 4 colors. One of the best Alan Silberstein watches is the one with the rubber camo on the case.
Oh yeah,
you guys remember those?
Yeah, the square.
Camo watch, and there's nothing wrong with camo. But did I miss a memo? Is it back? Or is
it never left, Alan? It never left.
It's been hiding in the corner this entire time.
But there's so much wrong with this watch. I mean, 46, really? A yellow hour marker. Look at that minute square. Do they want to be a black bay? But that minute hand was there already. The fidget is cool, but do you need it? Is there a minute track twice? I don't get it. There and 46, but you know what? The gray one appeals to me, and it's so fugly that it's cool. It's like a G-Wagon. And I have a feeling Sylvain Bernard had something to do with it before he left, and that's why it works.
Yes. But by the way, I want Alon to review American pickup trucks, especially customized ones. I'm going to present him with ones and hear what he has to say, especially about needing a particular feature, whether
Watch
that's
out,
useful.
I'm skewed to American cars because I love muscle cars. hot rods.
Well, let's
So
see you.
what-
Let's see you review some muscle pickup trucks. Okay, curious what you have to say.
No, I like you. Don't forget, I lived in the U.S., so I'm skewed. I'm in favor. So, but
They go
yeah,
perfect with those Breitlings, by the way. Perfect.
it would though.
Is this the Alan Silverstein to which you refer?
It's one of them. That's
Yeah,
one of them.
One of them.
He made many
Right.
colors, but this was cool.
Next week we'll maybe allow a guest to bring on something else to be hit miss maybe from the world. Actually, next week it'll be David, and we can hit miss maybe his new phone, seeing as he's not bringing any watches to the party.
Does your phone have any cool watch faces,
I
David?
like my new phone.
Oh, the
that's
Code
cool.
41 gets great reception,
that's very
right?
Cool.
At least I know what time it is in 2 time zones.
It only weighs like
Very
5
cool.
iPhones.
It's only 200 grams.
Only 200 grams. Right, well, it was demanded by some. It was desirable to some others. But it has finally arrived. We don't have this on the site just yet, but by the time you're listening to this, I believe we probably will have. So we will go directly to Panerai's own website and review the submersible Elux Lab ID. The Breitling is not the largest watch this week because this weighs in at 49 millimeters. So it's got a funny lighting system. You can go to the website to read all about it, but basically, I think it has effectively 4 barrels that are used to charge 6. No, but 2 are for the watch and 4 are for the lighting system.
6 patents, 4 barrels.
It's actually, and a
6
partridge in a
barrels.
pear tree. But the question is, would anybody ever vote this a hit, a miss, or a maybe? We're about to find out. Is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, go. Of course it's a hit. Don't be ridiculous. Miss, maybes, misses, hits, misses. Yeah, it's leaning towards the miss. It's obviously a hit. It's a Panerai. It's cool. It's huge. It's bonkers. It wins on the bonkers rating. So it's a hit for that reason. And maybe they'll send me one to try on. David, how'd you vote?
I'm gonna give it that. It is bonkers, and that is very cool. That sort of makes me want to change my mind, but I won't because it's 49 millimeters, and I feel like it's not 2008 anymore, when brands could just realize that they can cram any sort of technology into a watch that is no longer wearable. It's a cool object, but not a cool watch.
Ariel?
So I voted maybe. Well, look, first of all, this is not a very serious feeling watch in the scheme of elegance, right? Like, don't get me wrong, they obviously put a lot of effort in here. Technically, I'm sure there's things to be proud of. This isn't the first time anyone's done anything like this. So Panerai is completely ignoring the fact that they're like the 3rd or 4th luxury watchmaker to put in this electric lighting system in an otherwise mechanical watch. I remember a long time ago, Panerai, when they had a depth gauge watch, they were the ones who were like, wait a minute, why would we have a dumb mechanical depth gauge when we put an electronic one in there? And so they married an electronic depth gauge with a mechanical watch. It seemed to make sense when like Jaeger had their mechanical one, and I don't know if it works so well. So there's some precedence here to this. I think my major concern is, even though I know it'll sell to a few people, it's not very pretty. I don't think they're solving any problem. No one's like, oh, finally, someone's doing that. It just feels like a safe and sane thing to do for Panerai. They're like, wait a minute, we're all about diving watches and people love our looms, so we should definitely pour millions of dollars of R&D in this. So I'm curious to see what it's like, but I played with these watches from HYT, from Louis Vuitton and stuff like that. It's about as exciting as the first time you use the backlight on like a G-Shock or a Timex or any other number of watches. But it costs, $100,000. I was joking with Ripley that it's like there's a rounding error of a Mercedes S-Class in there, for for what you really need to be spending on that. So it's cool and all, but I think a watch like this they don't really care about impressing us enthusiasts. They're not pushing the envelope, and that's what we want from Panerai. I want them to push the envelope. I think when they came out with slightly updated hands about 3 or 4 years ago, I was more excited about that than what they're doing here. So I'm sure all of us, if they handed us one We take it if they gave us one. I mean, this is the fidget city because you have to keep pushing that button to get it to glow. I don't know, within 5 days, maybe Rick would break it, and then it's $40,000 fix or something like that. How many G-Shocks can you buy for the amount of money it costs to fix one of these things?
Ripley?
Well, there's kind of some cool tech. I wrote up the article for it today. It's got a ceramicized titanium case. The bezel, it's got 500 meters of water resistance, and the bezel. So on the HYTs, they used like kind of an LED to kind of illuminate it. The Louis Vuitton that Ariel mentioned used mechanical movement paired with a battery-powered illumination system. So this is much more similar to the HYT, where it's barrel spring-powered kind of micro generator. Cool thing is, though, rather than just illuminating like backlight style, it makes the hour markers, hands, and luminous tip on the bezel glow. To make it more power friendly, there's only part of the bezel that's directly under the zero marker glows. So it's, it only lights up about a quarter at a time. They did a lot of cool stuff here, but it's a $100,000 novelty, and they tried to wave in the historical precedents. I guess in the 1960s, Panerai messed around with some electroluminescent thing, not for anything like watches or the underwater compasses. It was for all of the other instruments they did. They're trying to tie it into that. Clearly, it wasn't able to be something that could fit into a watch, so they used their various radioactive paints for all of that stuff. But I kind of like what they did. It's crazy. One thing that's cool about it is it sounds like you could just turn the light on for 30 minutes. There's the little power reserve indicator under the hand. So it says it gives you 30 minutes of runtime. Rather than like kind of push and goes off after a couple seconds. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff there, but at the same time, it's like, if you wanted a $100,000 horological novelty, I feel like there's a lot of different ways you could go that would give you more entertainment. And this is kind of like a 49 millimeter Timex Indiglo.
Yes, you would obviously buy the equation of time from Panerai instead as being the horological gem. Question for you, Ripley. The 4 barrels, bear in mind I am, as has already been stated about 9 times in the show, wearing a Panerai, and it's an 8-day power reserve. So it takes a while to wind. Do these barrels wind together, or does the mechanism wind the first barrel full and then starts on the second and then the third? Or when you wind it, are you winding all 4 barrels a little bit at once? I'm curious as to how long it would actually take to fully wind this watch.
Or it's also automatic, so it's going to wind itself autonomously. I believe on the HYT it had 2 crowns. One was kind of for the standard movement, and the other was almost a separate crown that you could wind and press and all of that. I haven't seen it in hand yet, but the light activation appears to be a switch. So I would assume all 6 barrels of the movement, the 4 dedicated to the lighting mechanism, and the 2 that govern and power the movement side and provide it with its 3-day power reserve, are all wound through the crown/rotor. So I'd imagine that would probably take you quite a while. But they don't include the little Hublot.
Well, that's what I was going to... I think, bear in mind our earlier conversation about Swiss Army knives, I think obviously there should be watch winding mechanism in your Swiss Army knife. Guy, having discovered camo this week, have you now discovered illumination for your watches? Is this a route you now feel you need to go down?
100% not. I mean, I gave it a miss because it's ugly, and I didn't even know it was £100,000 when I realised it was ugly. And like the hands are horrible, the design is horrible, like it's just an ugly watch. But the other thing, like from like a business and brand perspective, by making this, aren't you going out there and telling everyone like Loom isn't very good? Because you're going like, right, we need to light it up. We've been telling you that Loom lights up and helps you tell the time for like however long, 100 years. And now we're telling you that Loom's not very good, so you've got to have a little Timex style light. Which seems
they also put Loom on it. They also put Loom just in case the light. It's only 30 minutes for the light. What if you need 40 minutes?
Use the light to charge the Loom as you're going? Because Actually, if it had a UV light and then the UV light could charge to the loom, that would probably be better.
Have Panerai, in fact, invented a perpetual motion machine? Is that what you're suggesting?
I just think it's, yeah. There's some amazing technical innovations that you can get in the horological world for 100,000 that are not this and look pretty.
You make a good point. If you could just put a small UV light in there with the same system to charge it, you could just charge your loom really good.
Charge the loom.
Right? Yeah, I just don't think it would cost you $100,000 to shove that in there.
What's the smallest black light we can get?
Yeah, what about just a small UV light on your diving kit and you can just hit your watch with it and,
Yeah.
Or take a torch. I do wonder, do you think it's possible then to get to reverse the mechanism? So if you charge it with light, it will produce mechanical power out of the crown. You can use it
like
to
a little
power
solar
something.
panel in, so the light is charging the panel and then it discharges itself.
That's right. The watch isn't big enough or expensive enough. Let's add more.
Yeah.
Kevin, how'd you vote? On, Kevin.
No surprise, it was a mess.
Give it a hit.
No, sorry, Rick. I don't know where to start. Basically, 49 mil, okay, I think I get it. But 100 grand, there are better things you can spend your money on out there. And it wouldn't surprise me, to be perfectly honest, that if it will turn up in the next Expendables film with Sly wearing it and the rest of the team wearing it, because I think it's just a marketing gimmick, to be perfectly honest. And it end up in a film somewhere. Definitely, Sly will be wearing it. Now that he's got £5.1 million to spend, he can certainly...
This does deserve a roughly 3.5 second cameo in a movie. I approve that. Yeah.
Some Sharknado 9. Alan, how'd you vote?
I voted a hit for one sole reason.
Because you love me and everything I stand for.
If I want to hang out with you, Rick, I need a Panerai. And since I don't have a Panerai, I need one that I can flex with. So this is my not E-Lux watch, it's the E-Flex watch. How can I top Rick? Now, on a serious note, obviously it's fugly. It's not meant for us. It's not made for us. But I salute the fact that Panerai finally does a bit of innovation, something new. They're trying, and they're not the first, and that's okay. But I'm happy they're coming out of their comfort zone. So yeah, those are my 2 cents. And the only thing that I love about it are the hour markers.
Good stuff. Well, we had the Breitling. We've had the Doxa. It leads us to play a slight, since we have a bit of time, a adaptation of this game, which is, and we will be the ones who decide what the appropriate watch is. And this is what we're going to play, the watch or Casio and some cash. So you can either have a Casio, and we need to decide what is the most ubiquitous Casio. I'm voting currently for this one that David reviewed, which is the Casio that's got the most functions, plus a diamond, the A159WAD, and that your choice is you can have the watch, or you can have this Casio and the cash, but you're not allowed to spend the cash on a watch. So, very quickly, let's ask Guy, the Doxa, would you have the Casio and the cash, or the Doxa?
Oh, out of all of them, it would have been the Doxa.
Yeah.
I don't know. I quite like the Doxa.
So he's taking the Doxa rather than the Casio and the cash. It's a Casio with a diamond on it.
But also, the Doxa is the cheapest as well.
Yeah.
So it's
not
like
a lot
only
of cash.
I mean, if it was between the 100 grand and a Casio versus a Panerai, it's different to what is it, a couple of grand. Oh. It's a tough one, but based on the Doxa, I think I'd probably go with the Doxa. But was it Alon that said if I can have the black one with the orange strap?
Yeah, okay. You have the black one with the orange strap.
You can, Guy.
If I can have the black, yeah.
There we go.
I'd go with that.
Well, Ariel, for you, it is the Panerai or the Casio and the cash.
That's a lot of cash. I don't know if that's a very difficult question. I think there'll be like a total of 5 or 6 times in the lifetime of owning that Panerai. We're like, this is the perfect watch for the occasion. I'm gonna take the cash and get me some very fancy timepieces. Thank you. That sounds like a great deal.
You're not allowed to spend them on watches. You're only allowed the Casio and the cash. That's it. No more watches for you. Just this Casio and the cash to buy a car.
You have to wear it for a year.
Yeah, so this is it. There you go. That's the rules. We're developing the rules as we go along. So you either choose the Panerai, in which case you can wear it and all your other watches, or you have to wear this Casio, but you get the cash for a year.
But you can't flip the Panerai 50 off within a year either to buy new watches.
To buy new watch.
Can I flip the Casio? Because I can get a lot of money for one of these. I'm thinking. I don't think this is that hard. It's not that I'm against the Panerai. This is just too good of a deal here. I will not enjoy the Panerai that much.
Well, let's see if Alan, our ultimate retailer, you've got the Breitling choice. So Breitling, you have to wear it for a year for all 46 mil of goodness of camouflage, so no one will be able to see you. Your wrist will be invisible to people because of the Breitling. So you're wearing it for a year.
How can I turn down the diamond? And I said the Breitling is fugly, so it's an easy one. You gave me an easy one. Cash and the Casio, because the Casio
for a year. So
Alon and I are going to be buddies. We're going to be like, hey, a whole year, right? Yes.
Still buddies.
We're going to be Diamond Brothers. That's what we're going to call each other.
Diamond Brothers.
Hey, tiny Diamond Brother.
Cali Dreaming.
Good stuff. Well, that is our show for this week. Thank you all very much for joining us. Do check out the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all those other things. Leave us a review. Go to the show notes on the website if you want to leave a comment. Thank you all for listening. Goodbye from me. It's goodbye from all of them. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.